Thank you. Good evening. It is 6 p.m. I'm calling to order the December 13th Fountain City Council meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Mayor Thompson.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Estes.
Here.
Councilmember Hinton.
Here.
Councilmember Corey.
Here.
Councilmember Rick.
Here.
Councilmember Applegate.
Here.
Councilmember Duncan.
Present.
I have 7 members present.
Thank you. We're down to item 4.1, presentations. Please take off your agenda the presentation for the Fountain Transit Driver of the Year. We'll be doing that in January. That takes us on to recognition for years of service for Paul Heller, and that is Mr. Johnson.
On here, it's rare that we have such a large audience at City Council, and I can only assume that that everyone is here to honor Paul Haller this evening. Since I believe 1987, Paul, is that right? And to maybe orient everyone, I was born in 1988, and since 1987, Paul has been our city prosecutor, and in this community, we have an excellent staff of police that enforce our city ordinances, but it's really at the end of that, it has been for that period of time has been Mr. Haller that's handled those cases, that's handled the judicial enforcement of those cases for such a long time. And when I got here, I had the pleasure of meeting and getting to work with Paul and experiencing the level of professionalism that he brought to that job every single day. And it truly is a public service what he's done for this community. And many people don't have a lot of options or a lot of availability to interact with their local government outside of getting a traffic ticket. And what I say is people know when they're being treated fairly. And for that period of time, Paul has treated people with respect and treated them fairly, all while kind of dancing the line of also providing justice, right? When people have to follow the law and people have to stay safe on the streets, and he is the embodiment of doing that really well and being able to treat people like people with respect, but then doing what's needed for our community to keep people safe. And so we owe him as citizens and as a council and a staff a debt of gratitude for his public service all of these years. And really he's been the reason why our courts have run so smoothly, quite honestly. And so it's with that thanks that I'll thank you, Paul, personally, and I also want to give Yanira the opportunity to say thank you as well. She's been working for a court for a number of years recently and has a much closer working relationship with him than I do, and so I want to give her an opportunity to say thanks as well.
Hi, good evening, Madam Mayor and members of council. Paul, working with you has been a great experience. We've enjoyed working with you from your knowledge of law, your quotes from famous people and movies, and you've made us laugh through your humor and sometimes cry by your singing. But we've enjoyed you all the time. You make us laugh. You're an asset. You've been an asset to the court office. We just appreciate everything you've done for us. You're infallible to me. You're very important. You're smart. You've guided us through a lot of issues that we've had, and helping us understand the court system much better in a clearer way. So I just want to thank you for everything you've done. We're going to miss you, and hopefully you still come by and see us, check up on us, see how you're doing. So I just want to thank you for everything. Pardon? Yeah, get a ticket and come visit us, you know. We know some people that can help you get out of it. But thank you, Paul, for everything and your dedication to the city.
So we've got something here for you, Paul, on behalf of the staff and council. We've got a quote on here. Greatness is not found in possessions, power, position, or prestige. It is discovered in goodness, humility, service, and character. So thank you again, Paul.
Thank you very much. Hey, thank you. Well, Yanita says all these nice things about me, but this morning she called and said that she did some research, and when I started, there were 43 states in the union, and Millard Fillmore was the president, so I don't know what's going on here. I won't take long. I know you have a busy agenda, but I just want to say a couple of things. First of all, it's absolutely been an honor. I can't believe it's been 35 years. And when I got hired for this job, I was engaged to my wife, Judy, and I was able to call her and say, I actually have something that's going to pay when we get married. And 35 years later, here we are. And I know that when Troy and I first met, and he met with Randy Torbett, who some of you may remember retired in 2021 in July, he had 49 years. So I emailed Randy the other day and I told him if we were a law firm, we could advertise that we have 84 years of combined experience, which is very painful. But what makes this court work is definitely not me. What's made this work so well over the years is our team. That team is Yanira, it's Stephanie, it's Portia, it's Troy. It's the great support of the city. It's Scott, it's Todd, it's Chief Heber, and all of the officers that I had the privilege of working with. And I will tell you that once we got body cameras, and even though most of our business is traffic tickets, you see what some of these officers have to put up with on a speeding ticket. It truly makes you really appreciate what they do. It's not an easy job. But I've always felt supported, and I've really enjoyed getting to know Kate and working with her. Whoever was involved in that hiring process, kudos to you. And same with Judge Ireland, who I've very much appreciated appearing in front of. She's an excellent judge, so you will have smooth sailing. But I cannot thank Yanita and Stephanie enough for calming the winds and putting out the fires. They have really, when we do have difficult people come through here, and they have a gift for calming things down. You know, we have a lot of unhappy customers, let's face it, but they really know how to treat people. So it was always a team approach, and before Yanita and Stephanie, certainly there was Doris Fulkerson and Terry Frank. So I just thank you all for this. It really means a lot. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your many, many years of service. I'm not going to ask for a raise of hands of anybody who's ever been before him, but I haven't, so I've only just met you in the hallways. So thank you very, very much, and I've always heard good things about people who came to visit you and felt respected and heard. So, and that's very, very important in this business, so thank you very much. Does anybody else want to say anything? Nobody else wants to admit anything, do they? Okay. Thank you so much, and thank you for letting us share him with you all these years. So thank you. All right, that takes us on to the next award, Susan Whelan. Is Susan Whelan, is she here? She's behind the podium. She's behind the podium. Okay, thank you. All right. Okay. We have an award called the Spirit of Fountain Recognition Award. And Mr. Trainer, if you'd like to come up.
Just going to read a couple things here real quick. Is this on still? Nope. All right. The Spirit of Fountain Award is a very special recognition that has been developed for the mayor to recognize those who represent pure Colorado and all that Fountain stands for in their words, actions, and deeds. This concept was originally envisioned by Mayor Gabriel Ortega when he was in office as a unique way to honor those who have, often over a number of years, done something so important or momentous for the Fountain citizens that it needs to be acknowledged and proclaimed. The Spirit of Fountain is not an annual award, nor does it have a regular time frame for consideration. It is given as the situation dictates. It's not a participation medal. Rather, it represents the highest ideals of service, partnership, and collaboration, love of community, and sacrifice, all topped with a sincere desire to make our community a better place for current and future generations. There's a quote at the top of the award from Ralph Waldo Emerson that captures a part of the essence of this award. To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, a redeemed social condition, to know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived, this is to have succeeded. Thank you, Mayor. I think you'll take it from here, right?
The honoree of our first award is Susan Whelan. This award has been a while in coming due to COVID and a few other things you just had going on that kind of put things off. And you were actually nominated for this by our former mayor who was unable to be here tonight. I asked him to come present it, but it just didn't work out in his schedule. He nominated you because of your role as the El Paso County Health Department Director. This is for your leadership and partnership on regional efforts to address health concerns such as COVID-19, development of a county facility to provide services to Fountain, creation of an emergency operations location in Fountain, and advocacy for mental health issues. Susan's collaboration with the City of Fountain has improved the health for all of our citizens. And I'd like to present you with the first ever Spirit of Fountain Award. It's in two pieces. I'm going to put it together, but I don't want to lose it. There you go. Put this together like that. That is actually our city coin that we have. And so on the back of it is our beautiful, it says Pride, Service, All-American Hometown. And it represents the military and our agricultural roots and in the big train explosion we had around here. So we actually enlarged the coin and then it just sits together in there like that.
It is
So,
beautiful.
thank you very much. But now you can see why it's in two pieces.
Wow, it's pretty heavy.
Pretty hefty, huh? So, thank you very much. We should probably turn around for a photo though. Scott, come on down.
I have again, congratulations.
Madam Mayor, thank you so much. This award is so beautiful, and I wish that I could have been here in 2020 because we purchased the building with the intent to expand services in Fountain. And I see a gentleman in a military uniform, and I just wanted to say I have the utmost respect for a military community, and I hope I don't cry. But my dad is a retired Army vet, and he just passed away. And so, this is more than just a job to me. Sorry. I didn't expect that.
No,
But when I see
take your
people in
time.
military uniforms, I just have a tremendous amount of respect. And so we know that the community has grown over 100,000 people within the last decade, and this has been a long time coming. I wish we could have done it sooner. We're only beginning related to expanding services. We are doing some renovations in the building. It's about 28,000 square feet. And I also wanted to recognize the tremendous leaders that you guys have in this community. We have had two former Fountain City Council members serve on our Board of Health. And from time to time, we do have openings, and we greatly appreciate your leadership. I serve a 9-member Board of Health, and I appreciate the leadership that is provided on that board. the city of Fountain makes things happen because leaders come together and they take quick action. And it's a model, I think, that others can learn from. Working with Scott Traynor, working with Todd Evans, and also Chief Hepper, we've been able to focus on teen suicide prevention, to secure funding and expand services. We've been able to work on youth substance use prevention. And I know Ms. Deidre Duncan, she's a woman of influence in 2020, and she's also invested in youth substance use with our efforts. And I always tell people, it's not because Fountain has more problems, it's because the city leaders come together and get things done. And so I really do have a tremendous amount of respect for the leaders in this community because I often admire how quickly things can happen when I reach out for help and how easy it is to work through challenges and overcome those challenges. And Todd Evans has been incredible related to spearheading some of what we had to do to negotiate even getting the space. But when we talk about emergency response and preparedness, we were able to bring nearly like 20,000 tests in a high volume parking lot here. We were able to provide high volume vaccination sites here where people didn't have to drive up to, whether there were locations at the Citadel Mall or even at the Garden of the Gods. And so there's more to come on that. We're only getting started. We're through COVID, the worst of it. And so I look forward to working together with you all because, again, I mean, we're only getting started. There's so much more to come. And El Paso County recently, we're going to talk about this at our Board of Health, but we secured nearly an $8 million grant, biggest ever, for public health infrastructure. So what does that mean? Fountain City is part of that. And so working with you all, I just look forward to what we can accomplish together in the future. So this is truly an honor. It's not just a job for me. The data and what we use to guide our efforts, there are people behind the numbers. And I take that to heart and very personally as well. So thank you so much. How wonderful it is. And at some point, we are going to have a ribbon cutting. Now that we're able to be together and physically together. So thank you so much. This is really a bright spot in my life. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Hinton is bringing you the bag for the award, so you can put the, yeah, all right, thank you. All righty. That's right. Yeah, I hope you got a good belt if you put that in your pocket, yeah, okay. All right. Our second award tonight is one that has kind of taken everybody by surprise, and it is another organization that has been active in our community for 64 years. And I'd like to ask the Fountain Valley News representatives from there to please come down. And while they're coming, this award is for their service to the citizens of Fountain Valley, providing news and information for 64 years from 1958 to 2022. Your contribution to the city of Fountain and the larger Fountain Valley region will not be forgotten. And Councilmember Estes, I believe you have some history for us? Yes.
That's good. That's good. This newspaper began in 1958. My parents moved here in 1955, and this has been it's been a part of my mom's life since then. It's been a part of this community for all of those years. They have not missed publishing 1 week in all of those years, which is incredible. They don't just service Fountain, but it's the southern part of El Paso County. It's a big part of us, and we are going to miss you guys immensely. You've had reiterations. I know when I was a kid, we called it the Advertiser. And then it's El Paso County News, it's El Paso County Advertisers, Fountain Valley News. So, but it's still the local paper, and we're going to miss you guys immensely. So thank you.
This is presented to you too. On behalf of the citizens of Fountain and everything you've done for our community throughout the years and supporting us. So thank you very much. Thank you. Put it together like that. You can see why. Yeah, can you take a photo?
Group pictures. Yep. Can we get it that way, I guess? Scott?
Okay. Everybody turn around and get close, like we like each other, right?
Yeah, we want Scott too.
John. Okay.
Can you get us all? Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you half and you half, and then you can fight over who gets it.
Can we speak?
Yes, absolutely. Let me just get back up there.
Can I give you a hug?
I hope you do. Oops.
Patty, I'm going to limit you to 20 minutes.
Oh, me? I woke up with laryngitis and I told Karen and she said, see? Mayor Thompson, council members, administration, staff, friends, citizens, bear with me. It won't be 20 minutes if I can even get through this. I've heard it said, if you enjoy what you do, it's not work at all. That is so true about all we have done over the years at your hometown paper. From when Carl and Kay first started the Security Advertiser back in 1958 to this fall, when we started our 65th year of service, it has truly taken a village called the Fountain Valley to make it possible, as well as some very talented and bright team members who have made significant contributions to the paper and the community over the years, many who you see right here. It has been an honor of a lifetime to be part of this community for more than 40 years for me, just as I know I speak for our staff in saying it has been such a great blessing to serve this community we call home. We're going to greatly miss doing so. We thank you for all your years of support, friendship, and for this honor. And I sure hope Karen and Karen get a chance to speak, but I want to say it's not always you get to work with family, and I'm so glad. My sister and I got to work together. Our mom's the owner. Mom's 90 now. And 3 years ago, I retired for about a year, and I couldn't stay away. But thank God I did, because otherwise we wouldn't have found this lady who has made the paper look better than it ever has. Go ahead.
Well, I'm not much of one for words, and Patty is, so I'm glad that she started sharing everything she did. I want to thank everyone. It's been an honor to be part of this community. I came down here in '94. At that time, Judy Christian was the mayor, and I remember coming to these council meetings, and it's changed a lot since then. But it made me emotional walking up here thinking, this is well, it might not be the last meeting, but anyway, I appreciate everything everyone's done for us, and it's been, like Patty said, lots of people have made the paper what it is today. So many people, and we have grandparents whose kids were carriers, and we have their kids who have their kids are carriers now, so that's really going to be sadly missed for all of our readers that enjoy seeing the little kids come up and deliver papers. And we do have still a possibility. I'm working with someone from Cherry Road Media that has expressed interest in our paper. He'll change it, update it if he goes forward, but it's like a very last minute thing, so we don't know. So right now our end date's December 28th, and if something new happens, you guys will probably be the first to hear about it. Thank you all. Now you have to talk.
Well, I'm the new kid on the block. I've been here just over 3 years, and I just have to say, years ago, about 10 years ago actually, I left the last newspaper I worked at, and I told myself I would never work for a newspaper again, because I could see the writing on the wall for the industry. But 3 years ago, this job literally landed in my lap, and I feel so lucky to have had this opportunity. It's a great newspaper, but it's a wonderful community. That's what I love about it. All the newspapers I've worked at, I've never seen such a sense of community in the newspaper itself and how they collaborate with the community. And it's been really evident the last week or two. We've had so many people come in or call on the phone in tears. A lot of older people. They don't get on the computer to get their news. And I'm sad for us because of what we're losing, but I'm more sad for those people who have relied on us for so many years. So we're still holding out for that Christmas miracle, but we'll just have to see.
But thank you all so much.
Anybody else want to say anything? I mean, Jeff, you always say something. Do we all know Jeff?
He did write a farewell that'll be in one of the next 2 issues of the paper. So everyone will hear from Jeff that way, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and congratulations on your award. Okay, that takes us to our regular agenda tonight. Item 4.2, Board, Commission, and Committee. We're appointing 1 member to the Pikes Peak Council of Government City Advisory Committee. Thank you, Rosa.
The city council designated.
You're not on. There you go.
The city council designated former council member Sharon Brown to be the representative for the city of Fountain on the PPACG Citizen Advisory Board in 2007. When her council term ended, she has continued to fill the role, being a voice for our citizens. Ms. Brown has contacted city staff letting us know that she will no longer be able to fulfill this commitment and will be resigning from the committee. We want to thank Sharon for her years of service to this board and also the Mobility Coordinating Committee. City staff would like to recommend Summer Earthsong from Municipal Transit. She's one of our dispatchers. Ms. Earthsong joined the city at the beginning of 2002 in January with 10 years of previous experience in the transit field. Staff is confident in her knowledge and representation of the city to this committee. Here's Summer. And she's our dispatcher. She trains our drivers, and she's one of our lead dispatchers.
Thank you so much for being willing to be part of this CAC board. The boards, the TAC, the Technical Advisory Committee, the CAC, the Citizen Advisory Committee, and the Metro Coordinating Committee are committees under the PPACG board, and we rely heavily on the work that those different boards do and recommendations and things that they give us. So thank you very much, and get prepared to have a lot of reading.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Okay, so we have a recommendation from city staff for Summer. What would council like to do? Mr. Rick?
I nominate Summer Earthsong to be appointed to the Pikes Peak Area of Council Government Citizens Advisory Committee.
Thank you. Councilmember Duncan?
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for Summer to be on the PPACG CAP committee. Any discussion? Seeing none, in a few seconds we'll vote. There we go. Thank you.
7 yes, motion carried.
All right, thank you very much. Congratulations. Absolutely. That takes us on to item 5, City Council agenda requests. City Council shall use this time to request any items for future consideration. I'm going to start to my left tonight. Councilmember Rick.
Nothing tonight, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Corey.
Nothing tonight.
Thank you. Councilmember Hinton.
Nothing tonight.
Thank you. Councilmember Estes.
Nothing this evening.
Thank you. Councilmember Applegate.
Nothing tonight.
Thank you. Councilmember Duncan.
I don't have any requests.
Thank you very much. That takes us on to item 6, public to be heard. Citizens may address the council on items that are not on the agenda. Council may not be able to provide an immediate answer, but will direct staff to follow up. Out of respect for the council and others in attendance, please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. I do have one card. The card is from Travis Baker for the VFW. If you'd like to come on down and introduce yourselves.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Travis Baker, VFW Commander, Post 6461, right here in Fountain. Mainly just come down to touch bases with everybody, invite everybody down for all the amazing events that we've got coming up. We do have our Christmas karaoke special, which is the 15th, because we have a special party on the 16th, so we don't have our regularly scheduled Friday karaoke, it's Thursday. And then, of course, Sundays are breakfasts, and then we are donating 50 food baskets this season again, just like we did for Thanksgiving. 25 are going to Carson, 25 to local community here within Colorado Springs, and those will be available for pickup and delivery on the 19th. And then, of course, our Christmas party is also coming up this weekend. We have a kids' Christmas party on the 17th, followed by our adult Christmas party on the 17th. All are welcome. We are an open post. You do not have to be a member. Please come down. We have a lot of things to offer our community, and we just initiated this new thing, and I know I might go slightly over. I just started a new thing at the VFW where we are doing a veteran resource workshop, and that veteran resource workshop has reached the entire state. And we are going to be doing quarterly workshops that will lead into an annual veteran resource fair. So we will be holding a veteran resource fair annually starting this next year, probably September timeframe. So we do have a lot of good things coming out of our VFW, and we do always invite everybody to come down and spend some time with us.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming by and giving us an update on all your stuff going on, and thank you for helping out the community with those food baskets. Thank you. All right. All right, that is the only card I have. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't move back, did I? Okay, Councilmember Duncan?
I wanted to ask him how to.
Travis?
Travis. Sorry about that. If a family in the community wanted to request a basket, how would they do so?
They can do that by calling down to the VFW. Or give me a call coming to the VFW. We do have a few remaining that have not been claimed. So we always do 50, and if we get 50, we get 50. Also, I guess I forgot this too. On Christmas Day, we are not closed. If anybody, regardless of their status, homeless, veteran, family of a veteran, never affiliated with the military, period, can walk in on the 25th and get a Christmas meal with no questions asked.
What time?
We are going to be open from 1 to 5.
1 to 5.
We'll start serving around 1, and then we'll close. We'll stop serving at 4, clean up, and close at 5.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, because, Thanksgiving, there was a good crowd there.
Yeah, it was. So we served about 75 people this year.
Yeah, thank you very much for being there. Yep, saves me for cooking. All right, thank you. All right, that is the last card I have. Is there anyone in the audience that had a comment for citizens to be heard time? If so, please come down. And do we have anybody online?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay, seeing no one, I'm going to move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, all items listed under consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be approved with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen so requests, in which case the item may be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately at the discretion of council. We have items A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and I on our consent agenda. And I see a light from Councilmember Applegate.
Yeah, I like to pull F.
You'd like to pull F?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, item F, okay. Anyone else? Okay, would you go ahead and make the motion then? Mr. Applegate? Oh, you had your light on. I thought you wanted to make the motion. Okay, what would council like to do? Councilmember Estes.
I move to approve the consent agenda with the amendment of removing item F.
Okay, we have a motion of consent agenda minus item F. And Councilmember Rick?
Second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
Seven yes, motion carried.
Okay, that takes us to item A, old business. There is no old business. Item 9, new business. Item A, considerations of items removed from the consent agenda. And we had item F removed. Item F was resolution number 22-058, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Fountain, Colorado to amend the Fire and Police Pension Association, FPPA, continuing a rate of contribution. Not sure who we have that's going to, Mr. Okay, going to try. Okay, good. John just walked in, so I didn't know if maybe he was going to cover it. Okay. Yes, please.
So we were very good, both police and fire. Fire entered into the PPA retirement program, which is a fixed retirement, 10 or 15 years ago. The police department did a re-entry in 2018. And during that time, both police and fire, we were paying a higher rate. And so was the city, to be frank. So hopefully I can articulate this as a win-win. In 2020, a law changed in Colorado that enabled both the city and the employees to pay a lesser rate. From 2018 to 2020, we paid a little more on FPPAs, and they put that into a Fidelity investment account for the police officers, which was good. But we are requesting before you to normalize to state law that the city would contribute less, we would contribute less as an employees, and lower the cost for everybody and still meet the requirements of FPPA. So overall, this is a good thing and it's a win-win.
Does that answer your question, Councilmember Applegate?
Yeah, no, it didn't.
Oh, okay, all righty.
My question is this.
Microphone, please.
This page 2 here with the scales. And over here in the description, it said we were gonna have going down to 12 and the city would pay 9.7. And then over here in the scale, it starts out in 23 with 12 and 9.5. And then the cities gradually goes up to where in 2030, we're paying 13%. And theirs stays, the members stay at 12, of course. But ours goes up to 13. Well, that's not what it says here, and there's a little clarity problem there, and I was wondering why it continually goes up on the city portion.
Some of that is the FPPA policies itself. There's initial cost for the employee, initial cost for the city, and they do fluctuate over time and space, going up and going down. What I can tell you, I don't have those exact numbers in front of me, but they were staffed with our finance assistant director and FPPA directly in their legal team, and those numbers are accurate for us to meet the state law requirements of the program.
We have to go up to 13 by 2030?
I can fact check that for you and get you an answer back if you'd like to delay on this.
That seems kind of odd, because obviously pay is going to go up every year too, so everybody's portion is going to be increased. And if it goes up to 13 and the pay raises go, that gets to be quite a number after a while.
Yeah, that number.
The city's portion would go up and be bigger than what the members paying.
That's correct. What I would recommend, Shauna was going to be here tonight, that staff and work those numbers. She had a concert with her son. We could pull this, we can clarify those numbers and bring it back to you. And that way we'll have that firm answer. Because I don't want to.
I thought she was going to be here. It has her name on the.
That's correct.
So I was going to ask her about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the amount we're changing is not that amount. My strongest fact check, without Shauna being here, is that number was going to go up regardless. Our portion, the cities and ours, was a 5%, 4% portion that was going to be down and low over time. But I'd like to have Shauna fact check so I can give you accurate information.
Right. Well, I figure everybody's portion is going to go up through just the normal pay raise system that we have here in the city year after year.
That's correct.
And I didn't understand why that was changing like that too.
Yes.
So if she could explain that, I'd appreciate it.
Okay.
Councilmember Estes? Oh, okay. All righty. So, Mr. Applegate, are you requesting and wanting to make a motion to table this until a further date?
Yeah, I'd like to talk to her before we go ahead and do this.
And what I think I could do, because there's some sentiment that we need to get this approved by 1 January. If we approve it, that I'll step out, I'll get that information, and I'll come back.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That'll do.
Okay, so what I'm hearing from you, though, is you need this taken care of tonight
Yes.
so that it can go into effect January 1st.
Yes.
Scott, can we move this item to the end of the agenda then so he can get the clarifying information?
Sure, yeah, that's up to the council.
Okay, let's
Okay.
just table it and go on with our agenda and keep moving
Thank
on while
you.
you gather that information. Okay, thank you. Is that good? Is that okay, Richard? Okay, thank you. All righty, so we'll come back to that. That takes us on to item B, Resolution 22-061, a resolution authorizing the approval of an intergovernment support agreement, IGSA, between City of Fountain, Colorado and the Fort Carson Army Installation. Mr. Trilch.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. Before I get started with my brief presentation and your consideration of the resolution, I did want to welcome Colonel Brown. He's the garrison commander at Fort Carson, and his deputy to the garrison commander, Tom Joyce, and several members of the garrison staff. So we're very pleased to have you here this evening, and thank you for joining us for this. I did have a presentation, just a couple slides. So this evening, I'm here before you for you to consider a resolution to approve a agreement with Fort Carson, an intergovernmental support agreement. This would be our third agreement with the garrison. This particular agreement is for the provision of animal control services. Before we get into just some of the specifics about this IGSA for animal control, I just wanted to kind of review what IGSAs are for those members of the public who may be listening who are not familiar with them. Intergovernmental support agreements have been around for quite some time, and they're growing in popularity in the military and amongst communities. And what they do is it establishes a legal vehicle for military installations to partner with neighboring communities for the provision of services on the bases. And what this allows, it serves their best interest because they can receive a service from the community that provides them an enhanced service, in many cases more efficient, and a cost savings as well, because oftentimes the local community is performing the same service or administering the same service, and they can go out and partner with them, and they can find a better deal, a better value, or improved service that they otherwise would have had to go out and secure a federal contract for. So we began doing these IGSAs with Fort Carson and learning more about them a couple years ago. And I'm very pleased tonight to present you again with our third IGSA proposal for animal control. So what are we specifically talking about here? Fort Carson a couple of months ago. It was only a couple of months ago. It's like the world's fastest IGSA ever. So usually these take a year or so to negotiate, but this was a quick need that Fort Carson approached Fountain about, and that they needed to improve, enhance their animal control services. We, as you know, Council, we facilitate that service through a contract with the Humane Society, of the Pikes Peak region here in Fountain. And so we kind of brought the group together and discussed how we could extend those services onto the garrison of Fort Carson, and came to a good agreement here to begin that next year pending your approval. So the way that this is going to work is similar to the pest control agreement we have. We will administer a contract through the Humane Society, who will provide the services day to day on the garrison. And then we'll help facilitate that contract. It's a 10-year proposal, as our other IGSAs are, and will commence the first week of 2023 if you approve it this evening. So for Fort Carson, and of course they'll have a chance to speak for themselves, but I am confident that Fountain will provide them an enhanced and better service at a very effective price that benefits them. And the benefit back to Fountain and the community is that we do recover all of the overhead and administrative and management costs that are associated with performing the service, so which we then in turn council can decide to reinvest into the community. So pending any questions about the animal control IGSA, I would recommend you consider the resolution for approval.
Thank you so much for bringing another IGSA before us. This is fantastic for strengthening our partnership that we have with Fort Carson and all their members that live within their community. And As we all know, animals are a super important part of everyone's lives when they have them, and to be, if they get out or they get lost, to be able to get them back quickly. And I think that this will really, really benefit that to keep happening. So thank you so much, and I appreciate the chance for us to do that with you guys in partnership. Thank you. Anyone else? Councilmember Applegate, your light is on?
Do what?
Your light.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, is there any discussion from from City Council? Fountain? Okay, seeing none, what would council like to do with this? Councilmember Hinton.
Make a motion for resolution, to approve resolution 22-061.
Okay, we have a motion, and I can't see who seconded it. Councilmember Duncan?
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for Resolution 22061. Are there any further discussions from council? Okay, seeing none, please vote.
I'm still missing 2 votes.
Yeah, it kind of blipped, so everybody be sure you go ahead and hit your button again.
There we go. 7 yes, motion carried.
Great, thank you, council. And Mayor, if you would like to come down and you could be joined by Colonel Brown.
Absolutely.
And I have the actual ICSA agreement here on the desk, and both of you can sign that. And then, Colonel, if you'd like to make any other comments on behalf of the garrison, the floor is yours.
So for the mayor and the city council, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. Fort Carson enjoys an enviable position, and that's due to the relationship that we have with our community neighbors, and Fountain is first among those. As John pointed out, this is our third ICSA with the city, and I think there are great things to come. I'd like to personally thank John for the work on this one. And then from the Fort Carson team, Scott Clark, Chris Markins, Joe Wyka for personally championing and getting this ICSA through. This is looking to save taxpayers in the order of about $750,000 over the course of 10 years. And so this is just a great thing to do. It's win-win across the board, and it helps Fort Carson stay at the leading edge of innovation across the Army, and in large part that is due to Fountain and our other community partners. So just want to say thank you, and I want to wish everybody happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year.
Thank you very much. And one of the ways everybody really can help keep the cost down of the pet control is license your pet.
Yes.
That is, Fountain doesn't have a really good statistics for having pet licenses up to date. So any help you can give us on that would be appreciated. All right, thank you. All right. All right, congratulations, Mr. Trilch. Good job. Thank you. Okay, that takes us on to item 9C, first reading of ordinance 1783, an ordinance amending section 010, current inoculation required for dogs and cats, to chapter 6, regulations of dogs and cats of Title VI, regulations of animals in Section 070, unredeemed animals disposition, to Chapter 16, impoundment, redemption, and disposal of animals of Title VI, regulation of animals of the Fountain Municipal Code to update provisions related to animal control services. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. It's great to sort of ride the coattails of that ICSA presentation, and I think part of the reason that we can be so confident in providing the service to Fort Carson is because of the great service that we receive from the Humane Society, the Pikes Peak region. And part of the reason for this ordinance coming before you is at the request of the Humane Society. There's been changes to the state law that we just need to update our code on, specifically in these two instances, allowing licensed professionals other than veterinarians to perform vaccinations, and then in limited circumstances that is outlined in the ordinance, allowing the shelters in those circumstances to deal with a pet as is appropriate. And so those are the two changes that are then kind of reflected in state law and as proposed to be reflected in our code to be consistent.
So the portions of this ordinance that we're dealing with tonight are the sections that are highlighted in boldface print on the ordinance?
That's correct. So in the ordinance, the bold is the changes to the ordinance.
Okay.
So you'll see in the first change would be adding a clause to section A, and then the second change would be adding a complete section D.
Okay, so section A is, or a person authorized as provided under CRS, and then it lists the law as may be amended. What kind of training do those people have that are giving the vaccinations that are not a veterinarian?
So I think primarily, I believe in the Humane Society is here, and if I say something wrong, they can correct me, but that's primarily for vet techs. So I think that the veterinarian technicians, I don't know the education that's required to go into that, but it's primary to allow them to administer the vaccines.
Okay, Councilmember Corey?
The techs are still certified under the state, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
They're still certified.
Yeah, it's pretty extensive. Pretty expensive, yeah. Okay, and then item, section D, is it a completely new section?
It's a completely new section.
Notwithstanding the provisions of subsection A of this section, 1, an animal without identification, including but not limited to a microchip or collar, animals that are relinquished to the animal control contractor by the owner. 3, abandoned animals, and 4, animals experience extreme pain or suffering may be humanely disposed of after having been impounded for less than 5 days in accordance with provisions of Colorado revised statute. So the standard is 5 days for a stray before they're released, unless they're obviously injured or in
Yes.
extreme pain. I guess I'm just
And without
questioning-
identification.
Well, yeah, I guess I'm just kind of questioning, okay, is that an and? Because it makes it look like in the part 1, an animal without identification, including but not limited to, might not have to wait the 5 days? Is that correct or
So it
not
has to
correct?
meet all of those. It is an and.
Is an and?
Yes.
Okay.
So it has to be an extreme pain, and I think that's a driving factor, and no identification.
I just think that's really, really important because I used to volunteer with the Humane Society years ago, was very active, and I know they have a very, very high rate of animal adoption. And they have one of the lowest euthanation rates around, and that's always been kind of a source of pride for our Humane Society in our area, and I wanted to make sure that we were continuing to stay in that area. So, would the Humane Society mind coming up and just kind of talking for a second? We haven't heard from anybody for a really long time, and it'd be good to hear from you guys. Thank you.
Hi, Mayor, members of the council. Thanks for allowing me to speak for a minute. This particular section is, again, it's just to change the ordinances to comply with PACFA regulations. Everything we do is regulated by the state through PACFA, the Department of Agriculture. And we realized that the city ordinance didn't have a section in there specifically for how we could address animals that needed a disposition prior to that 5 days that are experiencing extreme pain.
Okay, yeah, thank you. That's very, very important. So, yeah, we don't want them suffering. Okay, just wanted to clarify that. So, are there any further discussion from anybody on council or questions? And thank you for coming tonight. Okay, seeing none, what would council like to do with this? Councilmember Estes?
Find it. I move to approve ordinance 1783 on first reading.
Okay, Councilmember Duncan?
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 1783. Is there any further discussion from council? Seeing none, please vote.
7 yes, motion carried.
Great, thank you. That takes us on to item 9E, resolution number 22-055, a resolution amending the appropriation of fiscal year FY 2022 budgeted funds. Mr. Lewis. Oh, I'm sorry. You want to do D first, huh? Okay, all right. We'll back up to D. Resolution 22-062, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Fountain authorizing the abandonment of one half of the city's Fountain Creek Priority Number 17 water right in connection with a change of the remaining one half to include municipal uses, and authorizing stipulations and a decree in Water Court Case Number 2019CW3081, providing for such abandonment. Mr. Murphy.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council, and the public. So tonight, the matter before you is seeking council approval to abandon one half of the Fountain's priority number 17 water right on the Fountain Creek. This abandonment is in support of an active water court case that we've been in since 2019. This is the final hurdle that we need to overcome in order to settle this case and put that water right to use. This matter was brought to your attention at an April executive session meeting. I'm going to go through a quick presentation just to kind of refresh you on the facts of the case and how we arrived at where we are. So to start with, just to give you a few key principles of how water court functions that are really relevant to this case, it's important to note that in a water court, unlike other court proceedings, all of the burden of proof is on the applicant to prove their claims. Opposers and objectors can object to a claim. They don't have to raise any level of evidence. It is entirely on the applicant to bring the evidence forward supporting their claim for using a water right. It's also important to note that the key hurdle that you have to overcome in a water court case is to prove that your change or your use of the water isn't going to injure a more senior water right on the creek. That is really kind of the bar for entry to get something through court. Water court proceedings begin first with a referee period. This can last up to a few years. We are currently on year 3 of our referee period. And so in this period, you are given a mediator and you try to negotiate with all of the parties that are objecting to your court case and try to settle with each of them individually. If you succeed in that, you obtain a decree and you can use your water right. If you cannot agree and settle with all of your objectors or opposers, then you proceed to trial in front of a judge. That is the final step, and they decide whether or not you get your water right decree. So to go into this water right, this is the priority number 17 water right on Fountain Creek. Even though it is number 17, some of the more senior water rights on the creek have been abandoned. This is the 12th most senior water right on the creek. It's very valuable, very high value water because it usually is in priority, meaning you can get the water when you need it. So this water was first used in 1863. It irrigated areas to the west of Fountain Creek, where I-25 currently runs. When the I-25 system came through in the early 60s, it obstructed those areas that were irrigated. The owners of this water right then shifted it in 1959 over to areas to the east of the creek. You may know it as the Janitel Ranch land. And so in order to reach that area, the owners needed to make use of the Fountain Mutual Irrigation Ditch, commonly referred to as the FMIC ditch, in order to physically get the water onto those farmlands. And so in order to buy into the FMIC ditch to use it, the owners struck up a deal with the ditch company where they still retained the ownership of the water, but they allowed half of the water to be used by the ditch company for whatever purpose it saw fit, in exchange for moving their half of the water to irrigate those lands. That's an important factor that will come up in a second. And so really this kind of leads into the issues with this water right that we've encountered as we've proceeded this case. First and foremost, the move in 1959 to move it from the west side of the creek to the east side of the creek was not taken through court. It was not adjudicated. There are some contentions and claims from some parties that this makes the whole water right irrelevant and basically defunct. We've managed to push back on those in some of these settlements, but that risk still looms if this trial proceeds. The other issue is that all of the records from 1863 to 1959 are pretty spotty. There were not good records kept of how much water was used, when it was used, and where it was used on the initial farmlands. These records are going to be hard for us to defend in court if we have to. As for the water after 1959, the half that was allocated to the ditch company as payment for moving this water, that water was never tracked or quantified very well. The ditch company used it for any purpose it saw fit. They didn't keep a good record of where that water was being put or how much was being used at any given time. Really, the only kind of silver lining in all of this is that the half of the water that was used on the Janitel Ranch did keep good records. They have good tracking of how much water was used, when it was used, and which parts of the land it was used. And so that benefits us in this case. And so just to give you some details of the actual case that's filed. So the city bought this water right in 2004. We purchased the two halves of the water right, the one that was allocated to the Fountain Mutual Ditch Company as payment, and the half that was used on the Janitel Ranch lands, totaling 4.25 cubic feet per second. For the first few years of having the water right, we tried to negotiate with the ditch company to file a joint water court case, trying to use some of their history and experience with this water right to benefit our case. We never were able to reach a good negotiated agreement of how that might look in court. So eventually, we decided to go our own way and just take the full right ourselves through court. After a few years of strategizing, we filed a court case in 2019 to change this right from irrigation to municipal uses. After consulting with our attorneys, we determined that really the best possible route to success for a water court case was to only file to change the half of the water that was used on the Janitel Ranch lands. As I noted before, the FMIC half of the water did not have very good records of its use. We felt that that would be a liability in court. If we tried to take all 4.25 cubic feet per second, it could jeopardize any decree that we might achieve. So we opted to only take the half of the water that had the good records on it. Once we filed that court case, we had 10 parties file against us in opposition to our filing. So that really brings us to where we are today. So we've been in this court case for 3 years. Our attorneys have been diligently negotiating with these opposition parties during this referee period. So to date, we have agreed upon and entered stipulations with 7 of these 10 opposing parties. We are now at a juncture where the remaining 3 parties are ready to settle and stipulate with the city, allowing us to achieve our decree. The condition of that is that they are going to require Fountain to formally abandon and revoke any right to the unused half of this water right. That is the portion that used to be used by the Fountain Mutual Ditch Company. They want us to formally abandon that before they will settle and sign any stipulation for this court case. Because water rights are a real property in the state of Colorado, any modification of those rights, such as abandonment, does require city council action since it is real property. So that is what we are asking of council tonight, is to permit that abandonment in order to allow us to settle with these remaining parties and receive a beneficial use on the remaining half of the water that we would keep. And so just to lay it out for you how the two kind of paths before you look, there really is one decision tonight, and that is whether or not to approve abandonment of this half of the water right. If you approve it tonight, then in early January, we will have a court date. We will sign the 3 final stipulations. We will present that to the water court judge, showing that we have stipulated with all 10 remaining parties, and we expect to receive our decree in early 2023, allowing us to put the remaining half of the water right to use for Fountain's needs. If council declines to abandon the remaining half of the water right, this matter will proceed to trial. At that point in time, all previous stipulations are vacated, all previous agreements are vacated, and all 10 parties can reopen their opposition to the City of Fountain's case. As I noted, there are a lot of issues in this case that we would have to defend. And again, the burden of proof is on the applicant to defend and support all claims and all numbers in this court case. We feel that that would be quite a tough challenge for the city and our attorneys to defend the entire water right. And there is a real risk if we proceed to trial. We could win and get everything that we're looking for right now, but there is a potential risk that after all of this money and time expended, that we may receive less water or potentially no water out of this court case.
Thank you for that excellent summary. Councilmember Applegate?
But even if we abandon the HAP, is there any way that we could be assured that the 10 won't change their mind and come back and oppose?
We've signed with 7 of the 10, meaning that unless we go to trial, they can't change their mind at this point.
So you have a signed agreement?
Yes.
With all of them?
Yes,
Okay.
we just need the last 3 to sign and
That's what I
approve.
was curious about. Thank you.
Okay, so 7 of 10 have signed. But you're pretty sure the other 3?
That they have stated that if we abandon it, they will enter stipulations.
Okay, is there any further questions from council? Are there any questions from anybody in the audience? Water rights is extremely confusing. Yeah. Okay, seeing no further questions, is there any, what would council like to do with this? Councilmember Estes?
I move to approve Resolution 22-062, approving the abandonment of one half of the Fountain Creek Priority Number 17 water right by entering into the water court stipulation with the state and the division engineers in Colorado Water Case 2019 CW 3081.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilmember Estes, and I'm not sure who is next. Councilmember Applegate?
Second.
Here we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion from council? Okay, seeing no further discussion, please vote.
Seven yes, motion carried.
Okay, now that takes us on to item 9E. Resolution number 22-055, a resolution amending the appropriation of fiscal year FY 2022 budgeted funds. Mr. Lewis.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. John Lewis, Finance Director for the City of Fountain. As you are aware, way back on October 26th of 2021, we actually approved, or you approved and appropriated the budget for 2022. And of course, changes happened during the year. As you are aware, March 15th, you reappropriated certain capital expenditures that were appropriated in 2021, but those projects were not completed, and so they were moved over to 2022. In addition, there were additional revenues that came in at various times in March 15th and also April 26th, May 24th, June 14th, and September 13th. Excuse me. And so we had supplemental budget requests during that time. City staff now is aware of some additional revenues that have come in for some of the various funds. And some of those revenues need to be our grants and ARPA funds that now need to be spent before the end of the year. And we're therefore recommending formal approval by City Council for these expenditures in the general water, electric, ambulance, and insurance funds. And these supplementary budget request process is a standard process and a best practice for ensuring that only items appropriated by you are spent by administrative staff and the departments. So the recommended items, and if you could go to the next slide, Chris, please. In the general fund, you can see that we have some miscellaneous revenue that's coming in from an anticipated reimbursement from our energy savings contractor for some damage that was done. And we also have some deferred ARPA revenue. All of the ARPA revenue that we've received, which is over $7 million, has to be classified as deferred revenue. And so we're pulling it out of the deferred caption. And we will be spending it on $350,000 of it on meeting space improvements and various other technical expenditures that you have previously received in the lists from our city manager. In addition, PD has made a request for some bicycles for their SRO to move faster through some of the school buildings. They are going to pay for that out of their salaries and wages. There's also some minor equipment, uniforms, radio maintenance expenditures, and also some training that has been requested by PD that will also be spent out of the salary and wages savings. There's actually a few $100,000 of savings towards the end of the year. If we could go to the next slide. There's a number of expenditures in the buildings, the streets buildings, the renovation for the upgrades, and the building repairs that we made to Fleet, expansion on the bay, and moving compressor and some of the new electric HVAC installation. In addition, we have a number of expenditures and maintenance service contracts where the turnover in the cleaning crews and the companies that we've changed out resulted in some budget estimates that were under budgeted. We're going to correct that for 2023, but for 2022, we need to get an approval to increase those amounts to pay those contractors. In addition, we had some additional costs for Labor Day and Halloween community-wide functions, and we're transferring $43,000 of ARPA funds over to the water fund. So the net is that of the $616,108 of expenditures, $18,908 will come out of salary savings in the police department, and the net decrease in the unrestricted unassigned funds is $184,132. If we could go to the next slide, please, Chris. In the electric fund, we have a new service installation from Ventana and Aspen Ranch. That new service installation actually is actually $1 million, and I'm sorry that it didn't get corrected on this slide. Gee, I had it on the other side. That new service installation, and it's correct on the resolution, is $1 million. The higher than expected expenses for that new construction are being covered by the revenue that is shown at the top of the page. In addition, there's higher than budgeted expenses for purchase power. That budgeted amount hasn't been adjusted for a number of years. It looks like it's going to be about $15.9 million, and the original budget was $14.2. The insurance, if we could go to the next slide, please. The ambulance fund, we have an ESA grant of $14,872, and those funds need to be spent on the computer equipment and some other minor equipment in the ambulance fund prior to year end. Last but not least, it looks like we're running a little bit over on some of our medical claims, so to cover the anticipated costs, which are typically higher, we're going to increase that by $200,000, and that would result in a decrease in net position of $200,000. So looking at the resolution 22055, we have the general fund expenditures of $616,108, water fund of $43,068, electric fund of $2,475,000, ambulance fund of $14,872, and insurance fund of $200,000. And we would therefore ask that you appropriate those amounts to those funds and approve resolution 22055.
Okay, I just have a real quick question. You said that the resolution was correct, but what you showed us up there was not correct?
The amount in the electric fund, that amount on that slide, but the resolution is the correct amount, which is total expenditures of $2,475,000. Rather, on the electric fund, rather than the 750 new service, it was adjusted to 1 million.
Okay, because the resolution says as amended and shown in Exhibit A.
And we have 2,235,000, and you said 2.4?
That's right. It should be 2,475,000.
470.
Not on my packet, it doesn't. Not in the packet.
Mayor, if I could just add, the changes made were made after your packets were delivered and printed. So the update that Mr. Lewis is referring to, where the resolution is correct, would be the resolution that you've been given to sign this evening.
Okay, yeah, it has been changed, 2,475. These are the correct numbers. Let me give you the right.
Okay, I just want to make sure the resolution's correct so we don't have to amend it, so.
Yeah, and
okay.
because the general fund is different too, so.
Okay, so the resolution that he just handed me, council, if you have your paper or pulled up, general fund should be 616,108. Water fund should be 43,068. Electric fund should be 2,475,000. Ambulance fund should be 14,872. And insurance fund should be 200,000.
This is the first two?
Yes, general fund, 616,108. Water fund, 43,068.
And this is the correct Exhibit A. That should go.
And this, okay. Does anybody have any questions on those numbers? Everybody got them?
Yeah.
Okay. Gordon, Councilmember Rick, do you have a question?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Dan, two questions. There was a transfer out of general funds to the water fund for a project, but it didn't say what the project was, and there was transfer out of general funds for electric for new construction, but it didn't say what the new construction was. Can you help me understand, please?
On the electric, there was a transfer out of the general fund?
I believe that's what you,
No.
it was,
There was
Yeah,
an
if we-
increase in revenue and an increase in
revenue,
expenditure.
yeah, that came from Ventana and Aspen Ranch. Increase in revenue in the new service installation. If we could go back one slide, please, Chris. There you go. So that's a new service installation. And the correction that I gave on Exhibit A to the mayor is the new service installation cost is 1 million, not 760.
no, I'm talking the next one down. It says higher than expected expense for new construction.
Right, for the new installation.
Of
So
what?
That's what we do is when there is a new subdivision that comes into the city, they pay us to install all of the all the electric infrastructure. And so that's what the revenue amount is, the amount that they've paid us, and the expenditures amount is what we have expended to do those installations.
And then I'm assuming that's the same thing for the previous slide. Chris, if you can go to the previous slide.
Nope,
I can't
keep
see
going,
it.
there you go. One down from
Transfer
there.
to water fund, transfer of ARPA funds for additional costs of
Right.
product.
If you would, go to the next slide, please, Chris. No, the one that has the water fund. What happened to my slides?
Should be one more back.
Yeah, it looks like something got messed up
It's-
on
okay.
the
But
presentation.
the project is our 36-inch pipeline,
And we just had to, we set aside $5 million, our council set aside $5 million of ARPA funds for that project. And so we had more expenses this year than we anticipated, and so we needed to go ahead and increase that amount. We're still in the easement acquisition and design phase of that project. So that's the project that increase was for.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate you, Dan. Sorry for interrupting.
No problem.
Mr. Lewis.
No,
That's all I
I'm
have.
sorry we had a problem on the slides.
Councilmember Duncan?
Can we get a corrected resolution to be included?
Yes,
Okay.
she has the corrected resolution and the corrected exhibit.
I'm going to give her just a minute to look that over real quick.
Sure.
It's good to have it correct the first time around, right? All right. Is there any further questions from anyone on council? You have a question?
No, I don't.
Oh, you don't, just want to look at it? Okay. All righty. Is there any questions from anyone in the audience? Okay, seeing none, what would council like to do with this item? Councilmember Rick?
Move to approve resolution number 22-055.
Councilmember Corey?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for passing Resolution 22-055. Is there any further discussion from council? Seeing none? Please vote.
7 yes,
Thank you, council.
Thank you very much. Okay, that takes us back to the item that we tabled at the beginning of the meeting off the consent agenda, item F, resolution number 22-058, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Fountain, Colorado to amend the Fire and Police Pension Association, FPPA, continuing rate of contribution. And I'm going to ask Councilmember Applegate to please repeat his question.
Sure.
So that we're all kind of back on the same item. If you could just ask your question again.
He's concerned about the 13% and the aggregate going down.
The question is, why does it keep
Yeah.
going up on the city's portion to the point where it passes what the employees are? When it says in the original thing that it was going up to 9.7.
Okay. Thank you for allowing me to phone a friend. I feel like I was on that game show where you get to step out and phone a friend, and my friend had very good information. The information I provided you is correct. Without this modification, the employee contribution has been 14.5% for the last several years we've been in it. For the fire department 10 years ago, for us since 2018, we re-entered. When we re-entered and joined FPPA, we knew these numbers. These numbers are set by Colorado state law and then governed by the FPPA board. They raise those numbers that we subscribe to make sure the fund is solvent, to pay the pensions for the firefighters and police. So the good news in that, although those numbers are set by FPPA Rule 100.05, it is a decrease for the city, which is the good news. We were going to pay next year 10.5%, and it would have increased up to 14%. With us reducing those numbers, there will be a savings to the city. There will be a savings to the employee from 14.5 down to 12. Those numbers will stay consistent, and we will budget for those numbers. I will tell you that the FPPA is probably one of the best things we ever did for our police and fire, because it's one of our greatest retention and recruiting tools that we have at our disposal. So those numbers are set. We can't change them, but there will be a discount.
That's set by who?
The FPPA board.
State level.
State level.
Okay. Whatever.
So that's the answer.
Does that answer your question? Okay, Councilmember Rick?
So let me make sure I understand this.
Yes.
If we approve this, our rate of contribution goes down.
1%.
1%. Okay, but if we don't, we're going to pay 1% more than we would have if we approved it.
That's correct. And the employees will pay 2.5% more if it's not approved.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Hinton?
So Chief, I'm still not clear on Richard's question, the escalation at the end. Why does that number escalate so much?
That number is set by FPPA governing board that regulates the fund, so it's solvent and sets those numbers in advance to make sure the fund has money. As more people retire, as the fund gets bigger, as more people get enter the fund, there's a percentage they look for to make sure it's solvent and healthy, and that's the numbers they set and review annually at the FPPA board.
Okay, thank you.
I hope that understands your question.
It does.
Councilmember Estes?
So they review it every year, so in the happy world,
Theoretically,
theoretically, this could actually go down.
it could,
Because if they get enough money in and they have good investments,
yeah.
so.
And we know, I mean, this last year, the stock market inflation, I mean, it's caused, some panic and alarm. So my thought would be they're being overly cautious to make sure there's money there for when their first responders retire, which is important.
Okay, are there any further questions from council? Okay, are there any questions from the audience? Okay, seeing none, what would council like to do with resolution number 22-058? Councilmember Rick.
Move to approve Resolution 22-058.
Councilmember Duncan.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from council? Okay, seeing none, please vote. In a minute.
I'm sorry, do you see it? Because I have a please wait on my screen. Is it showing up to you?
Yes.
Okay, perfect,
Yes.
thank you. Seven yes, motion carried.
All right, thank you very much. That takes us to item 10, correspondence, comments, and ex officio reports. Mr. Trainer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't have anything official other than just to wish everyone happy holidays. Hope you have a wonderful Christmas and New Year's.
Mr. Trainer. Mr. Trainer. Mr. Evans.
I can go again.
You go again? As my, yeah.
There will
As
be a
my-
boxing match, Christmas between Christmas.
As my kids used to say, go again, go again. Chief.
I just want to say thank you for your support as we close out the year, and I'm looking forward to starting a fresh year. And Merry Christmas, God bless you, and thank you for the support.
Thank you. Chief Heber.
Just a couple of things. Just want to remind you of a couple upcoming dates that you can come out and support public safety. I know some people are good on emails. Some people, I just want to verbally invite you. This Friday at FMS, the middle school, will be hosting a volleyball fundraiser where the police department's going to crush the fire department. That is at 6 to 9 p.m. and the police department's bringing a secret weapon, so we'll just have to wait and see. So that's this week. Many of you, I think, came out last Christmas when we did our parade. We'll have police, fire trucks. Santa will be on board. I know Deetra, Sharon, you guys all came out last week. Corey, I know you're going to try and get there. But that is next Thursday, 3:15 at Fire Station 2. It'll go for a couple hours and we'll have a good time with it. So we've already raised hundreds of toys. Scott donated a remote control car, so I'm going to keep that for myself. But really appreciate the support. I just want to thank council too for supporting the employee pay plan that HR took the lead on. And certainly the merit raises we're coming into the new year with everything that's gone on. I just want you to know on behalf of the whole city, and specifically the police and fire department, they're very appreciative. It is not lost on them that with our limited resources, you are trying. And they really received that message. So there's a lot of happy people down there and they really appreciate it. Happy holidays to everybody. We'll see everybody in the new year like Devin said. I'm looking forward to 2023 being as good or hopefully much better than 2022 was. We definitely had our challenges this year and went through some things, but we keep together as a city, Fountain Valley and Fountain Strong. The last thing I'll end with is, we really try hard to get ahead of the speed of social media. But social media in this day and age is like a lightning rod and a lightning fire. As a police department, we need to vet the facts, check the information. We need to do our due diligence because we're accountable to a high standard when we put something out. So we try and do that to our very best of our ability. But if you ever have any questions, please call Devin if it's fire-related. Please call myself 24/7 if it's police-related, and we'll try and get you the right information. And just know we're working behind the scenes to get that information out as soon as possible. And sometimes, like when we work at the school district, we don't always get the first vote. If they're looking at something and the school district at times looks at it a little differently than we do, but we all work together as a team and we want to make sure everyone's safe. So thank you for support and Happy New Year.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Trying to do two things at once. Don't do it well. Mr. Trilch.
Yes, Mayor, I just wanted to thank council again for the support in passing the resolution for this evening's IGSA agreement. I, talked to Colonel Brown and his staff as they were leaving, and they were just very excited about that IGSA and are eager to do even more. And this one in particular was great because they really had a need in this case, and they approached us and said, "Can you help us with this?" And we were able to quickly respond and put that together. So. Thanks again for the support, and they left very excited and eager to maybe potentially do even more with Fountain in the future. So thank you again, and happy holidays, everybody.
Mr. Blankenship.
I just want to publicly compliment Tanner Murphy on the outstanding job that he did this evening. Took a very complex issue and I thought boiled it down to a very, very understandable level. It's an honor for me to work with an individual of his quality, and to quote our Deputy Utilities Director, he's the real deal. So very, very fortunate to have him in Fountain working with us. And I just want to thank the council for the support of the utilities throughout the entire year, and look forward to an exciting new year. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lewis.
Nothing else other than Merry Christmas, everybody, and God bless everybody.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? Okay. IT?
Nothing tonight, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. City Clerk's Office?
I just wanted to, I'm going to be the bearer of bad news. We'll have an executive session this evening. And then, and I'll read that into here in a second. And then also I just wanted to mention the Miracle on Main Street that happened this weekend. We were able to serve over 100 families, came through City Hall. A lot of happy children left here with tons of stuff. The Operation Homefront donated a ton of things for kids. If once they shopped for someone else, they offered up them a stocking to be able to pick and take things for themselves. And all of those leftover donations will be being donated over to the police department for their Blue Santa program. We also had, we all know that our city staff is awesome, and we had over 20 employees volunteer for that event with us from every department. We were very thankful for that. And then I also just wanted to thank council for those of you who donated monetarily, who also purchased items for us to have in that event, and those of you who volunteered at our event. And we also had a ton of community donations and donors that supported that event too. So thank you. It was a great event.
Thank
That's
you.
all I
That
got.
is-
Thank you.
That's a huge win-win for our community, for those kids to be able to shop. I worked at a school previously where kids, if they didn't have an event like that, some of those kids wouldn't have any presents to give away under the tree. So it's so important. So thank you so much.
It was very humbling and a great experience, for sure.
Councilmember Duncan?
Today is the 3rd anniversary of Space Force. I just want to thank Mr. Trilch for his hard work and our relationships with our military. We know that America is the biggest user of space, and this is the largest reorganization of the DoD since 1986 Goldwater-Nicholas Act. So I just want, to thank you not only for what you do with the Army side, but for all of the military that you do, and I appreciate your hard work. I told our Fire Chief, Devin, that we did a good thing when we hired you. I have heard nothing but good from the staff, from the community, and I just wanted to say that publicly. I told him privately, but I wanted to make sure that his bosses and the bosses knew of that there are a lot of good things being said about him in the community. One other thing is that there are a lot of posts, like the chief said, we can't get ahead of social media, but we're having a lot of dogs being left out, and they're barking during the day. And I'd like for us to be good neighbors and to keep in mind that there are those who work at home and those who may be asleep that work at night. And it's cold during the day. If we can bring our furry friends in during the day. And Merry Christmas to everyone. Thank you, mentioning a few names, but we have the best staff ever. And so I just want to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you all.
Thank you. Councilmember Applegate?
Yeah, I don't really have anything except Merry Christmas to everybody. Have a good year.
Thank you. Councilmember Estes?
Just a shout out to the PD, love the new design for the patch. So, yeah, they look awesome, I don't know who designed, I'm assuming it's Officer Davidson. Yeah. Yeah, so, but it looked awesome, and I loved it, keeping some history in that, so that was a great job. And I'm going to join on to Councilmember Duncan's appreciation for our new fire chief. I've heard nothing but good, and everybody, we are blessed to have you here. So thank you for spending your first Christmas with us. And thank you to all the staff. You guys are wonderful. And the rest of the council, have a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Thank you. Councilmember Hanton?
Just want to give a shout out to the Miracle on Main Street. It was an awesome event. I came just to volunteer for a little bit. It is just a pleasure to see those that were not expecting anything to get something at a very small donation, to be able to feel something underneath their tree, to feel something in their stocking. So it was good to do some shopping up here with some of the families and the youth to see that. And so I appreciate all the staff's effort on that and all the hard work that goes into that. I know there were some people here at 5 o'clock in the morning getting things set up and having that ready to go. So Scott, please let the staff know that we appreciate all their efforts and everything that they do on behalf of the city. And also just another kudos for the fire chief. I've heard nothing but good things about you, brother. You're doing really well. I appreciate it. Keep that up. Merry Christmas to you and your family, to your two beautiful young little babies that you have. I don't envy you. I'm done with those little ones. But
You get to send them home?
yeah, I get to send my grandson home. But it's always good. But I just like to say, just to the council and to the mayor, I appreciate all your just mentorship and everything that you have provided me, just being a new council member here and trying to figure things out. It's hard, it's difficult, but I love serving and I love this city, and on behalf of everybody here, I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Councilmember Corey?
Yep. Chief, can't wait for the ride-along on the 22nd. That'll be fun. Y'all get to join the parade. And, yeah, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, everybody. So appreciate all the work from the city staff, from the Miracle on Main Street. So,
Councilmember Rick?
Yes, for the staff, I want to say thank you for all of your hard work this year. I do appreciate it. I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Please be safe. Don't drink and drive. If you find yourself tempted, call me. I have a team of professionals that will come to your location and drink all of your alcohol so that you're not able to drink and drive.
It's so kind of you to offer your services
One
like
of
that.
the many services I offer the
Yes.
community.
Okay. All righty, and let's see.
Don't try if you're an amateur, only if you're a professional.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Oh, my goodness. We had our last PPCG meeting of the year, and I'm really excited about a new program called CEDS, and it's CEDS, Community Economic Development Strategy. It's something new for PPACG to be dipping their toes into economic development. But in the future, U.S. Economic Development Administration grants will require your community to have a CEDS program. So we're getting that kicked off the ground, and I think it's going to bring a lot of money to our community. Also, through DOLA, we're in the process of hiring a grant writer, not an administrator, so they'll help bring some of those grants to the area, and through PPACG, that is. We had our first legislative meeting of the year, and even though the legislature isn't meeting yet, trying to keep an eye on what they're thinking about, some major concerns that were coming from people was really keeping our eyes on bills for local control and no unfunded mandates. So if you hear of any bills coming down the road that way, send them our way. And I picked up from Fountain Valley Community That Cares some extra workbooks. So when they came to us, I don't think a lot of people were familiar with it because it's been a really long time since they've been active in the community. I had them staple their business cards inside, and the one I circled, Emma, if you will email her, she will send you classes that go along with this. They're like 10 minutes, and just give you a good overview of Communities That Cares and what they're doing before they come back and give us a presentation, hopefully in January. They've got the personnel standard thing going on where people are moving around and trying to hire new people and fill those holes. But, so I have quite a few, if anybody on staff or on council is interested in having one of those notebooks to read through them and kind of just update yourself on it. I found it really interesting, even though I've kind of been involved with them, to go through their emails. And like I said, they don't take very long at all, but it gives you a good idea of what they're doing in the community. So that is all I have. And Joni, that for the executive session? I'm sorry. We have to announce the executive session or open section and vote to go in. Yeah, I know.
In accordance with the city charter and the Colorado Open Records Meeting Act, the city council in open session is to determine whether it will hold a closed executive session. A closed executive session may be held upon affirmative vote of 2/3 of the quorum present. If consent to the closed executive session is not given, the items may be discussed in open session or withdrawn from the consideration. The purpose of this executive session is for CRS Section 24-6-4024E for the purpose of determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategy for negotiations, and/or instructing negotiators. If I could get a vote, please. Thank you.
We have a motion on the floor to go into executive session. What would council like to do? I can't see any lights. Councilmember Estes?
I move to go into executive session.
Councilmember Hinton?
A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor to go into executive session. Please vote.
Seven yes, motion carried. Thank you.
Well, next year in 2023, have a Merry Christmas, and we're going to take a 5-minute